All right, everyone, what's going on? This is Aiden Wood, mix and mastering here, and today I'm here to talk about a very, very, very important topic when it comes to anything music related, and something that I would probably say is still somehow underrated, especially as everyone's kind of looking for quick ways to do things nowadays, especially in music, in all forms of art, and it's a bummer because that kind of takes away from a lot of the goodness and pureness that we get out of the best art, the art that we really love. And the thing that has made house music, dance music, all forms of music really, to be the place that it is the art of sampling. And I know sampling is still obviously very prevalent, and an example would be, a lot of producers use sample packs to actually make their music, and they're sort of reusing little bits of samples from different songs, little drum hits, maybe it's vocal hits, whatever they are. But the idea of what sampling really is it's sort of one of the best ways you can create your own sound and make your own unique music. And the reason for that is because you're making and picking songs that are based entirely from your personal taste. If you don't like heavy metal, for example, you're not going to sample a heavy metal vocal or a heavy metal instrumental. But if you love old disco, you're going to go back and look for old disco top lines, old disco break beats, whatever they are. You're going to look for those things, and you'll find over time as you start creating sample libraries and as you start just kind of digging and diving through old songs, that when you start to resample these things and use them in your own music and kind of put your own creative twist on them, that you'll make some of your favorite music that you've ever made. And I think, of course, that's like all of our goals as producers, and even as mixing and mastering engineers. Like, mixing an old sample into a song is fucking awesome. Like, being able to do that, working on someone else's song and like really enjoying the sample is a pretty great thing. It helps with your own workflow there too. So this is a whole video dedicated to the art of sampling. It's such an important thing, and I'm going to talk about a few ways you can do that. Okay, so one of my favorite ways to sample is to create sample libraries. And there's a bunch of different ways you can do this, but one of my favorite ways to do it is to go through something like YouTube, maybe SoundCloud, and find a bunch of old, I really like sampling disco stuff, but finding old records that inspire you, maybe it's soul, jazz, R&B, whatever it is. I go through YouTube for a while and find a bunch of different songs, kind of skip through them, see which ones are standing out to me. And then I just throw them into like some sort of YouTube to MP3 downloader, and I make a little folder in my DAW. I make it on my desktop first, throw it into my DAW, and then I'll pop them open in Ableton. Sometimes if I'm looking, specifically for vocals and stuff, what I like to do is I'll throw them into something like mixed in key first. So I'll show you guys my recent sample folder here. So I have a bunch of different vocals and instrumentals here from a bunch of different songs that I really like. And what I've done is I've added the key of a lot of them to the end of the tracks. And it looks like some of them are not downloaded right now and not showing, but you can see I'm adding actually like the key, the key of the song into this. The reason why I'm doing this is this will make it a lot easier if I'm reaching for a vocal and I've already kind of started a beat and I kind of already have a key going. It's not quite as important if you're starting with the sample, but I find in my own process that a lot of the time I end up picking a vocal probably like early to mid of my track making process. And by taking the extra time and adding the key into the name of the file, it'll make your process a lot easier. The other thing I'll mention is doing this before you start your song. So if you're kind of itching to do something music related and you're not too sure, you don't really want to work on a song right now, go and look for old samples. I think it's really important when you're not feeling the motivation to work on a song or mix a song or master a song, whatever it is, that you find something else to do that's sort of similar in parallel. So if I don't want to necessarily make a song or work on a song, I'll just start looking for old samples. And so I'll find those old samples, I'll throw them in a mixed in key. Until the next time when I am feeling inspired, I can go in and use all these, gold mine of samples that will make the next song that I make, a lot easier to create. So that's just one way I like to sample. I'm going to talk about a few more here. Okay, the next way I like to sample is I like to go to the record store and I like to pick out some records. And the reason I like to do this is because when you go to the record store, you're going to find stuff you would never find just on YouTube or on SoundCloud, anything like that. You're going to find lots of obscure stuff. Like here is a song, and this is a really, really good song. I don't know if you guys can look this up. I don't even know if this is online, but a $3 record I found at a store near my house, Invisible City. Shout out Invisible City, they're incredible. But like this is a gold mine of samples, and this is a $3 record from, let's see when it's from, probably the 80s, 90s. I don't even know. But going to the record store, finding stuff that you never would have heard elsewise is just such a great way to inspire yourself. And what you can do is you can just throw something on your record player and you can rip the audio right into your computer. And I don't think there's anything too wrong about doing that. I think because you bought the record yourself, you're sampling in a pretty authentic way, I would say. But you can also just kind of go onto YouTube and type in the name of the record. Let's say we have, this Dennis Farrow one here. This one's probably digital, so if I went and looked up the name of this online, I could probably just get it on YouTube and then rip it that way and take like the stems from the Ableton stem splitter or something like that. But going to a record store and physically going and sifting through and going through the different records is just such a great way to stir some inspiration. I think it's probably the most undefeated way to sample because you're going to find things you would never otherwise have found. So yeah, that's a really, really great way to sample as well. All right, and one other way that I really like to sample sometimes is I like to go on something like Discogs. So if you don't know Discogs, it is one of the best places to buy pretty much any record you'd ever look for in your life. I think going to the record store is actually better in terms of stumbling upon new music that you wouldn't find normally. But in terms of like an actual online marketplace where you can buy whatever you want, Discogs is incredible. And there's actually a great way you can kind of dig from here too. So let's say you found a song you like. This is a really cool song from 1996 that I really like. I think it was Emma was playing this when he was in Toronto. What you can do is you can kind of go and there's sort of a bunch of different ways you can look at the recommendations. Sometimes this is a good way, not always the best way I would say, but you can look at the recommendations. Like I said, you can look at also like what the buyers are saying. So this guy commented in 2024. He looks like he posted a review of this one too. Maybe I can listen to this here and just give it a little peek, see if I like this. Okay, so maybe that's not my favorite one, and that's okay. But maybe I can keep going. I can go and find something else that I like. Maybe there's something here. That's incredible. That's an incredibly good song. So I'm going to add that to my watch list. So there's a lot of different ways you can kind of go about it, guys. I just encourage you to find ways that speak to you. If you really like the recommendations, go ahead and go with those. Sometimes like I just did, I'll go through the reviewers' accounts and just see what else they're listening to. But going on websites that you're not used to going on and just kind of getting lost and finding new stuff is a great thing to do. You can go through the genres, you can go through the years, the styles. Like these are all really cool things you can go to find some new music that you wouldn't have before and get some new samples into your library. So thanks a lot for listening, guys. There's a lot of different ways to sample, and there's a couple websites I like that I didn't talk about today that I might talk about in another episode that I really, really use a lot. Sampling is really important, is the moral of this. Sampling is going to distinguish you amongst your peers. A lot of people get really lazy with overused splice samples, loop cloud samples, and that can be okay. There's obviously time and place for those things, but some of the best music that stands so true and so strong is stuff that's sampled intentionally with a lot of purpose. And you know, a lot of the songs I like the most are when they turn a really unique and specific beat into something completely different, or they take like a piano lead from, I don't know, some old like Michael Jackson song and make it a new song. Like those are always moments that stand with people and stick with people. So I encourage you to use your own sort of taste, use the things that you like about a certain genre, a certain artist, whatever it is, and dive into that catalog, figure out what you like about it, see if you can use it in your next song. And a lot of the time it's not going to work, I will say, but when you have a sample first mindset and you're looking to create really cool shit with stuff that you like a lot, you're going to make some really cool stuff. So I really, really implore you, in your next song, try and sample a lot more than you did before. If you're already sampling, good for you. That's really good, but sampling is really important, and I think everyone should be doing it. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching, everyone. This has been Aiden Wood, Mix and Mastering. If you have any questions about anything I talked about today, any of the records I showed, you know, anything like that, always feel free to let me know in the comments. And yeah, I'll be sure to see you guys in the next video. Peace.